pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, start out with any public comment.
Yes, the Daily News had an article that the Township DDA sponsored and funded the fireworks. And so I just want to say to all the members and people that donated to the fireworks, on behalf of the CLA and the community, thank you so much for your donations. And we hope to keep going, and we'll probably ask the Daily News for a retraction on that.
Thank you. Anybody else? Sharon?
Yeah, after 3 meetings, the information regarding the well bids just seemed to get murkier. There's a lot of questionable actions regarding what transpired, as well as a lack of transparency and inclusion of the other board members. I don't understand why you felt it was necessary to present the bids as sealed. I pointed at all the bids and the spec sheets, and after reviewing the documents and gathering some information, it was clear that not all of them were sealed prior to the meeting. The bid received from King Water Wells, which was dated March 15th, and it was originally sent to Dan's Excavating, the project coordinator, who most likely created the specs, was opened and modified. The header and bid amount were removed and used as a spec sheet to give to the other bidders. When it was brought to your attention that Bogart bid for 1.5 pump instead of 3, since he failed to meet the project specifications in the business world, most likely an error like that would have been disqualified. The bid would have been disqualified and the offer rescinded. His bid error should have been brought to the attention of the entire board so they could decide the proper way to proceed. But instead he went to Bogart, giving preferential treatment to one contractor is both unfair and disrespectful to the other bidders. When it was brought to your attention that Bogart's invoice showed a 1.5 horsepower, you said, and I quote, "And when we was up there and he was up there and talked to the guy doing the project, and he said 1.5 would more than probably do it." What guy? Did he have the authority to say that maybe the 1.5 would be enough? Then you said all of this didn't matter because he was still the cheapest bid, even if he put a 3 horsepower motor in. It does matter. I think the unprecedented move that you would contact the bidder and give him a chance to review his bid begs the question why. Would you have given the other bidders a chance to correct their bid or to talk to someone about changing the specs to allow their bid to be acceptable? The way the bid process was handled reflects poorly on the township leadership. Contractors who are aware of how this was handled may be reluctant to bid on any future projects, knowing they may be bidding for no reason. I encountered that scenario when trying to get bids for the park sidewalk repair. One contractor said to me he wasn't interested because they always use so-and-so. Thank you.
Anybody else?
Can the board expound on the roles and responsibilities and time commitment for the Parks and Rec Committee, please?
Begin be on the committee.
Yeah, to determine if I'm interested, I'd like to know a little bit more.
I think you just turn in your or turn in and you want to be on it.
No, she wants to know what their responsibilities will
Oh,
be. And if she gets on it, if she's interested in being on the committee, what are the roles and responsibility of that committee? Linda, I don't know.
probably one of them will be our people, the firm we hired that's gonna draw up the rec plan. You'd probably be meeting with them whenever they wanted to meet, and
Don't you think you should identify those, that role as relationship to the board and what you expect from that committee before appointing anybody to it?
yeah.
We should do that.
Anybody else? John?
I'm confused based on what Sherry just said. The well project, you sat up at the front and said that was a sealed bid and you opened up envelopes So it does not sound like it was a sealed bid. And that's exactly what you said. And
We
you
opened
opened
them
up envelopes.
Yep,
So was it a sealed bid?
everyone's but that one. That was
So
way
it
out of
wasn't
the ballpark.
totally a sealed bid then?
But nobody knew what his bid was.
Didn't follow proper procedure.
Anybody else? Or,
At the last meeting, I was not here, but I listened to it on YouTube. And a fellow brought up the fact that, there's someone farming Burke Cemetery. And your response was that, well, it's low land and it was okay. And I'm concerned about that because it's township property. And I went out there and I looked at it, and it's the property that you own just south of the Burke's Cemetery is lower than what that area that you farm. So you were dismissing someone who was questioning, why are you farming the property, making a profit on that, and not reporting that to the township? So that is a concern to me. So what I did is I went to the county clerk's office, and they gave me, I said, oh, this is what's happening. Someone's farming township property, and they're not paying us for it. And they said, whoa, well, you need to go to the township board. Well, guess who's on the township board? The person who's farming township property. So, I'm still talking, could you think time? And they said, if you look on the back of this, then what you're sharing with me is that this is property fraud. That's what's happening. I said, you're using someone's property without permission and without paying. And they called that property fraud. So that's why I'm bringing this, hoping that you can put that on your agenda for the next meeting and go into closed session and actually discuss. Because you're making money on this property. You had a sweet deal with the farmland, because I've been in contact with Michigan State University Agriculture Department, and they said, yeah, you can grow crops there and you can feed it to the cows. And you've got 150 acres where you have $1,900 that you're paying a year. And I have to go back
you
and.
got 150 acres, Barb, you got your facts wrong again.
Well, I'll say 100 acres, but I do know that there's 2 plots. So, what the facts are, is that you're making money on that, and they projected that you were making at least $16,000 a year on farming. Now, I'm questioning, did you actually pay the township for those years that you farmed? Because I am going to FOIA that information, and I would like to find out whether or not you've paid that back. All of it.
Barb, me and the Mazes gave that ground to the Burke Cemetery.
I don't care. You gave it to the township.
And the guy, by the Vernon
Okay, I'm
Maze.
not arguing with you. I'm saying this, that you are using your authority to circumvent the process, and that's really incorrect. I think it's important, that we need to have straightforward answers. Whether you gave it to the township or not, you gave it to the township.
Roger.
She's gonna have to go all the way back to everybody's farm that field, all the way back to the Hagermans and everybody else, and she's gonna go after you.
I'm talking about presently the township property, which he
I know
said
where he's
that
at.
he's farmed it. I don't care who did it. I'm talking about.
All the other ones that owned, farmed it before Kurt bought that land from the Mays Corporation.
I'm not.
Anybody else?
I think the 4th of July weekend went off very well, and thank you guys for all the hard work you do.
I think the DPW did the most of it. Thank you, DPW. They did the cleanup.
That was amazing. Honestly.
Anybody else? Okay, we'll move on. Need a motion to approve the agenda, accept the consent agenda. Motion to approve the agenda and accept the consent agenda.
I'll second.
Motion by Elise, second by Patty. Any discussion?
Yep, I want you to add under new business F, concerns. If you would please, I'll go over them.
Under new business?
Yep, under new business F, concerns.
We need to add, sewer department just got a bill yesterday that needs paid. They had a pump go down for $9,903.57 to their bills.
I'm gonna say something right here. I wanna see an invoice on all sewer department stuff, if you expect me to ever vote to okay their bills. We never see an invoice on anything, and we're okaying their bills. You can add that,
Okay.
however you wanna add it or whenever.
Just add it to their bills that we pay again.
Well, I'm not gonna okay anything unless I see an invoice. We're not doing our job, we're not seeing the invoices if we're not looking at them. That's part of our job.
Agree.
Okay, any more discussion? All in favor, say aye. All opposed? Motion carried. The motion now to accept the consent agenda.
I'll make a motion to accept the consent agenda.
Support.
Discussion.
Open for discussion?
Yeah, thank you, Kurt. Okay, I'm looking at the June 12th meeting minutes. I believe we also okayed the sewer department taking $250,000 out of savings to go towards repairs, did we not? Pretty sure that was in that meeting, it's not in these notes.
Which one should it be in, Nancy?
Well,
The regular meeting or the budget meeting, I'm sorry?
no, this was at the regular meeting, to my knowledge, not at the budget, there's nothing in the budget.
Yeah,
meeting. That
because
ended
we
like a
talked
6
about
minutes
it
after.
during rural water.
Okay, so we need to add,
Well, okay, there's a couple things here. I know we discussed they had $250,000 in savings, they wanted to use that towards the repair. Who on this board knew they had it in their savings account, especially when with that much plus, that much in their money? And they are a township, they are part of the township. Why don't we see their bank account? None of this makes sense. The only thing I'm gonna say about the resolution we did for the sewer, the resolution that we wanted the attorney to do was for the township to be able to convey, lease, sell. That one was written up as if
specific.
just for Kurt. That's kind of silly.
Curtin, the other guy.
Right, and no, it was for the township to have the permission to do that because we had a resolution. Okay.
But I guess the only thing I'm gonna say is, the resolution, this was a resolution, it was approved the way it's in the minutes, correct? But we need to go further and get a resolution.
Right, it says we
Right.
we have
Right.
permission to do this, that we have the authority, not permission, that we have the authority. And the last thing I'm gonna say,
Authority
oh
to,
no, two more things. Authority to be able to do that, and I'll look back and give you the exact wording.
okay, thank you.
I'm gonna go to our raises now. Okay, because of the fluke of where it went on voting, mine got approved. I refuse it. I am not gonna take a raise. We raise people's rates. We're still running the beach, and even though we're getting a break on that. We're spending the taxpayers' money. We're raising the sewer costs. That's why I started voting those down. So I want my check reissued for the previous amount.
MTA says we can't.
Right, you can't reduce wages in a term of office. This resolution passed for your raise.
Well, how do the rest of you guys feel about that? I'm not talking about just the board members. Why would we deserve a raise? And you knew how that vote was going. I was turning everything down and so was Sarah.
You were the one that brought it up, Nancy, in the budget meeting, to give everybody a raise, including the board members.
Except then at the next hearing, at the, actual meeting, what do we do to the sewer department people that are paying that sewer raise? I thought we were also gonna get rid of the beach lease. We did not. So you gotta realize that until this came to this resolution, people are gonna change their minds, and I did.
But these motions that are in the minutes are correct as written,
Okay.
right?
Sure, they are correct.
I mean, does anybody else?
Any more discussion?
Yeah, I got one more. Duck Lake Park, I talked to the DPW afterwards, my concern was when you said Kevin was gonna help them, I'm like, wait a minute, Kevin's got work to do, who's helping him? I talked to Pat and to Mitchell, and they said, no, there was just a couple of things, I think whatever he had gone over with you, they've got this stuff, I believe they're gonna do that, so. I never contacted a contractor, and I think they're about ready to go by what they had said. Anybody, it doesn't matter if it's, a small load or not, contractor would be charged it, we're gonna be charged it.
Right.
Unless he had a neighbor right across the street that wanted that extra concrete, there's no deal there.
So was it inappropriate, that statement that at the board meeting that we were going to accept bids for that? Do I take that out?
You can leave that in there, I'm just kind of correcting what's gonna happen now. We can put that into this, these minutes, the July meeting. But I do believe by what Pat and Mitch told me today, they're gonna do that kind of.
So there's any change that I need to make to these minutes as printed is my question.
No, because it just brought up different things, I guess, Pat, that, just don't seem kosher, especially when, we don't even know how much money the sewer department has. And we're the board, we're over them. So, I guess you're good to go. Bills, I'm gonna go to those. We don't have any invoices for the Huntington credit card bill, the Wex bill, or the debit card that was used. I believe that was used last month. We need to have those invoices. I give those back to you so you can put them in the board packet.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's all.
So the two bills that you paid for Wex and for Hunter, the credit card, those aren't in this packet, because
and
these
they're-
are the new ones, so
these
that's
are-
what you want to see.
Or the debit card that was used. I believe you got bought stamps.
Okay.
It's just, you know, we've gotta have our bills. We've gotta look at them. That is part of our job as a board. And things
And I
happen, so-
apologize, I just, since you approved them and paid the bill, I assumed it was.
Wait a minute, you want them back, you told me to put them in that packet, they're not in that packet for the rest of the board members to see. We have to pay those ahead of time, that's one of the ones that we have permission to pay ahead of time, and then they're still supposed to be included in the packet. That's all.
Yeah.
Okay.
Any more?
No, I guess I'm done.
Okay, all in favor? Say aye. All opposed? Motion carried. Oops, sorry, well, we're gonna move, we're gonna move,
Parking lot.
Oh, you wanna get Chris out of here first?
yeah, Chris, you gotta go, do you? Yeah. Okay, we're gonna, after Chris, we're gonna put, the Parks and Recreation Plan, kick off people here, cause they're from down by Grand Rapids, so. Go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, we just got a couple of things. This fall, we're only gonna have a tire recycle. We're not gonna have the, hazardous waste and the electronics. Is that correct?
No household hazardous waste, no electronics.
Well, we are
At
gonna
some
have
point in
tires.
time, there'll be a tire at the first Pearson landfill, and we don't know when.
Right, right. In our last June meeting, we had a construction variance that we tabled until this month. We ended up approving that. All we had is a couple hires and stuff that we had to approve and a couple committees that we had to reappoint people to. Other than that, it's just been all our normal bill paying. Starting tomorrow, or no, Friday, we have our first budget hearing with our department heads, so tomorrow, or Friday and Monday, we have those, so that process is starting.
I want to thank the county for the $50,000 donation.
Well, Nancy thanked us the other day when she got it too.
Anybody got any questions for the commissioner? Thanks, Chris.
Thanks, Chris.
Okay. Go ahead.
Do we need to pull?
Yeah.
Okay.
You might have to.
You have to hook it down into,
Is it the drawer?
The drawer or something.
Yeah,
there.
Perfect.
Does that work?
Yeah.
There we go. Hello, everyone. I'm Jeff Kiesler from McKenna. This is Paige Brodeur from McKenna as well. We are in our Grand Rapids office. We have offices in Northville and Kalamazoo as well. And we're kind of all over the state. Much of what we do is rural townships and small towns, just like you guys. So this is kind of our bread and butter. I want to just mention one thing. First of all, I come into these rooms all the time, and there's like one person sitting in the back with the agenda. This is really, really great to see. This is really, I'm listening to what's going on here. This is small government in action. You guys are, sharing your concerns. You guys are discussing things out, and it's really great to see. I'd like to hopefully see some of that same energy continue for the Park and Rec plan update that we're about to kick off right now. And I heard somebody mention they were interested in possibly joining on. Who is that? All right, let's talk afterward if that's okay. All right. So again, I'm Jeff. This is Paige. We are planners for McKenna, and you can skip to the next one if you want to. So Park and Rec updates, what are they for? Why do we do them? The main reason is to kind of coordinate your efforts and really decide, capital improvements. What are we going to work on? What are we going to focus on? What desperately needs repair? What can be pushed off down the road for a few more years? But the other main important reason is right here. If you have a active Park and Rec plan, you can apply for grants. You can apply for grants for trail systems, for park acquisitions, a lot of different things that you can do. You can't really do them without a Park and Rec plan. So that's the main reason we're here. Is everybody go like this? It's all about money, right? We want to get you guys some money for some cool stuff. So how's this going to work? Well, it's going to take roughly. I think we were planning on having a draft in like December-ish, right? Is that right?
More like October.
Cheers. Okay. So it's a multi-month long process. Right here, we have to build in 30 days for public comment period. That means when we have a full draft that's complete and ready, we have to send it out to the public. Probably goes on your website, maybe your Facebook page. We would also send it out to different entities in the area. So authorities like road commissions, housing commissions if there are, and they have 30 days to sit with it where we can't do anything. And then we'll hear comment back, sometimes a lot, sometimes a little. I just dealt with this today in a different community master plan. Somebody from an adjacent township sent me a letter with 8 different things that we either had incorrect or missed. One of them was correct, by the way. But we had to make those changes. So it's part of that process. After that 30-day period, then it can come to the board for adoption, and then you have that active Park and Rec plan. Okay? In between the kickoff meeting, which is right now, and that public hearing and adoption, we've got a lot of work to do. We will be doing an online survey, and Paige has already started to build that. And then we'll be coming to report out things to the, you guys don't have a Parks and Rec Commission, correct?
No.
Okay, so we would be reporting out to probably the township board, or if you want to, set up a steering committee that's not you guys, it could be some other people, that's fine too. But we would be coming back to report out and then get more input from you guys. And yeah, that's kind of the process. Within the plan itself, we're gonna talk about the community. We will do a little bit of data analysis on who lives here, how much they make, what the houses are, things like that, but it's not like for a master plan where we would, how far do people drive when they go to work and things like that. We're not gonna be getting in that deep, but there's a little bit. And then there's an inventory of all the parks and recs facilities in the area. And we're even looking at things like privately owned recreation facilities. So there may not be any here, but if you have them, those are ways that people can exercise and do recreation that aren't funded by the township. So we still count those as well. And there will be a description of the public engagement. We'll break down what we heard from you guys in the survey, an action plan, which is hugely important because then you can take that and sort of, it's gonna be in like kind of low-hanging fruit stuff. Like for an example of that would be signage. You do signage for the parks to tell people how to get there, where to park, where to use the restroom, things like that. More medium-term goals that would take a little bit more time, a little more money, a little more planning, might be things like adding a new play structure at a park. Or, man, everybody wants pickleball, right? Like the whole nation wants pickleball. And you guys have a great pickleball court, we've seen that too. But those would be more medium. Then like larger term goal oriented stuff would be like a bike trail. You know, lots of money, lots of time. You're gonna have to get grants likely to do that. So that's kind of how the document would be organized. Here we have the schedule, and again, Paige has us done by October. And I will say Paige is fantastic. She's really a go-getter. And, you know, I wake up at, 7 o'clock in the morning and she's already texting me, asking me what to do next. So you guys, she's gonna be fantastic on this plan as well. But there's roughly the schedule. July, we kind of are past, obviously we're past June, but we've done some work already, some pre-work in June. But July we'll be doing the kickoff, looking at the demographics and the park inventory and the region, and getting public participation started. So then we'll be working on developing goals. So you kind of wait to hear from the results of the survey, wait to hear what you all are saying, and then we'll develop goals. We don't come into a town and think, you know what, we've done this before. We know what these guys want. They want, this thing and that thing, and over here we should put, we really listen to you guys. You guys are the experts on the township. We are not. We know planning and tools, but we don't know Crystal Township like you all do. So we really have to hear from you, and that's why you see goals and objectives don't even really happen until after that whole process. And then we'll be working on the draft plan even while we're doing the other steps, but having a complete plan ready by September, October for you to review. And you'll give us comments and say, we don't like this idea, or you called this Main Street and it's actually Smith Road, or it will happen, and we apologize, but they're big documents, and we'll that's why we have 2 months, because we'll have to go back and forth just a little bit. And then the public hearing and adoption, and hopefully you guys can apply for some grants to get some money. Meetings, we're looking at, we would love to get some parks and green space oriented folks, even if we don't have a formal commission. So if you guys could help us identify some people for that, it could be like the athletic director from the high school, or somebody who's involved in youth sports, or people like that. We would love to meet with the township maintenance and facilities people and hear, their story when it relates to parks. Do they have enough funding? Nobody does, right? Okay. But do they have enough funding to do what they need to do? Do they have enough people to do what they need to do? What if there was somewhere an additional piece of land that was granted to the township to become a park? Sounds great, right? But then you have to mow it, and then you have to maintain it, and there's lots of costs there. And also, that doesn't make you any tax money. So there's some things to consider. Are the parks that you have right now working for your township? Or, do you see that there's the ability for some more? We have Parks and Recreation meeting, but it's going to be the township. So these meetings will kind of be two things. They'll be letting you guys know, hey, this is what we found out. This is who lives here. This is what the survey's telling us. This is what other public engagement is telling us. So we're reporting back to you, and then we're asking you guys, well, what about this? Did you ever think about putting this here or that there? So just be thinking again, you guys are the experts on the township. One thing I like to ask is, when you go to other towns, do you ever say, man, I just drove through Greenville. Their park in the middle of their town is my favorite thing. It's beautiful. So when you go to other communities, when you're on vacation, what are some parks, things that you guys see that are, why don't we have one of those here? So that's, I think, all I have, right?
Right, yeah.
All right, now I'm gonna turn it over to Paige.
Yes. So I've looked into the demographics so far. One of my favorite parts about doing these plans. And yeah, so these are important in helping us determine the needs here for everyone. And so we typically compare communities to surrounding communities to get an idea of where they're falling. So I found that Crystal Township's population is decreasing. This is similar to some of the surrounding communities, but not all of them. Then this is an interesting one, especially once we get to seasonally vacant households. But the average household size is 2.6 people, which typically implies older two-person families that do not have children living in the home or older residents living in an adult child's home. Most of the houses are owner-occupied, 88.4%, leaving 11.6% being renter-occupied. And then this is something that's interesting to and unique to your township is the seasonal vacancy. So out of the total number of households, 30% are seasonally vacant. But out of the number of vacant households, the ones that are seasonally vacant are 94%, which really shows the tourist trend that you guys have, which is important to take into consideration in the summer months and in planning for that. Next, I looked into the age structure of the township, comparing to surrounding communities. Similar to the population trend, it's similar to the city of Carson, where there's an older median age, and then different from other surrounding communities and the county as a whole. And then to the right is the age breakdown, and you can see even more clearly that most of the population is over 45 years of age, which just shows how important it is that the parks accommodate all ages. And then in terms of income, this is important because it helps us to determine what kinds of facilities are going to be more commonly used. And the median household income, which was adjusted for inflation, compared to the state of Michigan is lower, as well as compared to the county is lower than those two. And then lastly, disability, which is something that we always include in parks and recreation plans. Though only 4.4% of residents under the age of 65 report having a disability of some sort in the county, it's important to include in the plan anyways. It's just a best practice that we typically stick to take into consideration the usability of facilities. And this is just because parks and recreation facilities have many benefits for all. And here's a quote that I found from AARP, where they took an online and a phone call survey that says adults who log the most exercise are significantly more satisfied with their emotional, spiritual well-being, mental health, and overall health, ability to handle stress, physical appearance, and current eating habits, as well as amount of sleep they get per night, which just shows all the benefits that using parks and recreation facilities and getting outside has for people. And then I'll turn it back over to Jeff for this part.
So we want to hear from you all, and we need maybe somebody to take notes too.
Yeah, I can do that.
But anybody have any thoughts about the current parks that are here? Good or bad, or maybe, yeah.
I do the lawn maintenance on the parks. They need to have a dog park. Dog park only,
Yes.
cause, this will be coming up a little later. People aren't cleaning up after their dogs when they're supposed to, even on the beach. So,
Jeez, okay, that's really good to know. That's the kind of stuff that we're looking for, and you, honestly, you have that special kind of insight that we aren't gonna have, so.
they don't have to worry about it flinging off the tire and landing on you.
Yes,
Bathrooms, permanent bathrooms.
where?
Crystal.
Okay,
And
so there's,
yes, ADA compliant
Okay.
permanent bathrooms.
all right, very good. Any other parks where you think bathrooms are necessary?
I would add Knoll Park, because that is used by so many people, you would not believe it. Until I lived next door, I just kind of blew that park off as like, oh, that's cute. Oh my God, there's probably hundreds of people in there a week,
So,
especially softball season.
is like, the Crystal Park, is that kind of like the beautiful park, and then Knoll Park is the athletic park, kind of?
Yeah.
A little bit, okay. Do you guys want to keep it that way? I mean, we looked at the beach park, Crystal Park, and yeah, we were thinking like, what could you do here to activate it? You know, there's really nice walking paths. There's a playground in the middle.
I will say the Google image is behind. I just took an inventory of
Okay.
it, and there's a lot there.
There's a lot more there.
So,
All right.
yeah.
I'll drive there.
I'd say it's activated.
Okay, good. Restrooms, dog park, yes.
I would like to see you know how they at parks, they'll do like a physical fitness, like this is like stage
Yeah.
1, stage 2, stage 3, stage 4,
Yes.
stage 5. I think those are really cool.
Exercise stations, and especially, yeah, if you can do them on like a walking trail to combine the walking and the
Yeah,
stations.
we've got, seems like a lot of space down here where they did the fill dirt and everything else or bring some pickleball courts up to this area or
Even a
whatever.
South Pier, I think
Yeah.
would be a South Pier might be a nice place for them, then it'd be right
I
on
don't
the
think
water.
there's enough room there for a proper one.
South Pier needs something different than that pit toilet. South Pier we bought from the DNR and it had a pit toilet.
Okay,
It needs at least a porta potty, if not a, it's
that's,
small, it is small.
that's good to write down.
So-
South Pier, that's where the boat launch is?
No, that's old boat launch, South Pier is off South Shore Drive.
Okay,
Boat launch is North Shore Drive.
okay,
And we have a park at Duck Lake also. It needs to be improved in that.
okay. Yep,
Parking.
parking,
We have township property here that there's plenty of space for parking that
okay,
the township already owns. There's empty space.
okay.
That's my exercise area.
Well, we need parking.
This is where my knowledge is limited, so, on the beach, can you put permanent, surfaces, like concrete? Do you guys know? Are you allowed to do that, non-permeable surfaces? Could you put a pickleball court or even a restroom on a cement surface? Yeah?
There'd be a sewer hookup to it.
Okay. Okay. Sometimes, shoreline, Eagle is goofy about that stuff.
Yeah, it might be nowadays.
Anybody else? I'm gonna throw one out, yeah, go ahead.
We focus a lot around Crystal Lake and Little and Duck Lake, but we have other pockets of high population, higher population.
Yep.
That also would benefit from some attention.
Can you give us those
Loon Lake.
areas? Sorry?
Loon.
Loon Lake, okay.
That's a different
That's not in
township.
Crystal, oh,
Oh,
Well,
scratch
only
that.
the right-hand side, which is then of the lake.
On
okay.
Senator Road.
Right-hand side
Okay.
of the road. if you're
Senator's
heading that way.
the Loon,
Yeah.
Any other spots that you're thinking of? Because that's one other thing we look at too, like in a city, you would look at like where are the parks and where is the population. You look at a big area of population without parks and you say that's where the new park needs to go. But yeah, are there areas where if you wanted to use a park, you'd have to drive a long way and there's lots of people in that area? Yes.
I'm suggesting we need to have budget recommendations for the board so that they would know how much it's gonna cost for the things that you can't put in. Like, for example, bathrooms and maintenance of the bathroom and so forth.
We can do that a little bit. You know the struggle with that. When we print this and hand it to people, the cost will have gone up.
Absolutely. Just to give you a suggestion, we had 4 porta potties
Yep.
for the park for 4th of July weekend.
Oh boy.
Oh, yeah.
So don't worry, the bar had over 4,000 people in their bathrooms.
Yeah.
I can only
I bet they
imagine
were
what you
happy
dealt
about
with, I
that.
really, I can't.
Okay, so we can do that. We can include some cost of some items. We would, a lot of times it's not exact, but a lot of times what we'll do is in the action plan, we'll have like what priority level is it? Is it a high priority or a low? Then we'll have the action, install new restrooms at all the parks. Then we'll have the cost amount, and we'll usually use like $1 sign, $2 signs, or 3.
Right.
But we could try to get some actual numbers, right? Right. Here's one to throw out, and I'm gonna make you all mad at me, all right? Stanton is how far away?
6 miles.
6 miles.
Less than 10 minutes.
20 minutes.
And they have a big giant bike trail going right through the middle of their town.
Oh, yeah, that's the old,
Right
railroad.
here.
What would it take to hook up to that? Don't.
Oh, I like
Don't throw
that.
me out of here.
Several times.
We're just dreaming
Several
right now.
townships.
Just dreaming. Okay, there is one whole entire township between here and there, right?
At least a couple.
Yeah.
I think. Okay. Okay.
That would be awesome.
Yes.
Yeah, because then you build that 6 miles, and then you can go all over West Michigan.
But you gotta get farmers' approval to go across their land.
Yep.
Through the DNR swampy areas up 522 and all that.
These are all issues. Absolutely. Yep. Not including the money. I mean, how do you pay for it? But just dreaming, even if it wasn't in this plan period, but we talked about it as a dream in this plan period, and then you kind of work toward it in the next one. Just throwing it out there. That is a neat kind of thing because again, it's not like it's just building the trail there. You get to go you can ride to Rockford if you can make. I wouldn't be able to make it that far. Yep.
Yeah, so I'm listening to all of the great ideas, and I think one of the key things about getting a plan is where you can suggest different grants that will help fund all of the ideas that are people happy with bathrooms and things, because I think that is the next action item, which would be, so will you provide suggestions for potential grants that will cover some of the ideas?
We would be definitely doing that. Yep.
I just have one other thing. Because the lake is so central to this township,
Yes, yeah.
and we tried to, I'm with the Lake Association, and there's quite a few of us in this room actually with the Lake Association. With the Clean Waters Act in the state of Michigan, we have the DNR launch, and I know they put them in at other DNR launches, the communities have a boat wash.
Yeah.
Boat wash.
You do have one, or you would like one?
No, we need one.
Yeah. I'm working in Montague. Same thing. They want one as well. Because if without that, you can transport the bad
Invasive
stuff.
species into our lake.
Yeah.
Boat wash and duck lake also.
All right, 2 of them. 2-fer. So yeah, going back to the bike, the like a bike trail thing. I mean, you're talking about there's a millage there probably. There's a lot of things that would take place before you're before you're thinking about that, but yeah, it might be, I'd like to hear from you guys, but that might be the kind of thing that we would put in as one of these, you know, the higher level goals that we're dreaming for. And then when somebody hits the lottery and donates millions, then you can do it.
We're trying.
Keep playing. Anybody else? Yeah.
There was a group working on putting in a frisbee.
Yeah.
Disc golf.
Frisbee disc golf out at, no, I don't know where they're at with that plan, and then there's another gentleman. Yeah, the Lions Club. I don't know if they came and got permission to do that, since the township property, what that looks like. And then there's another gentleman in town that is looking at, don't ask me to explain it, cause I can't, but he keeps talking about a mini rodeo.
A mini rodeo. Alright.
Kid-size rodeo stuff.
Somebody mentioned that, yeah, but I don't know who or.
Well, calf roping and goat roping, not just, they don't ride bulls.
Pat wants to clean that stuff up after,
Right.
right, don't you, Pat? Yeah, no, sorry.
Those are just the
Don't go to the fair.
scuttlebutt stuff that,
Yes.
are kind of in the conversation
Yeah.
around here.
I like it, and so let's think about something else too. So Paige mentioned, you know, there's a fair amount of transient summer people coming into the township. Thinking about activities here, the age range that we discussed, there's plenty of children and younger adults too, but are we looking at like sports or are we looking at leisure activities? I mean, you mentioned frisbee golf. I feel like that's leisure activity, you know?
Okay, don't tell that to them, serious guys.
Well, but I mean,
I saw some guys in Greenville, if you said that, they kick your ass.
I don't want to. I'm making everybody mad tonight. All right? But you know, do we want to invest money in a new softball field or sort of what she's talking about, like, or what somebody else mentioned, the exercise stations? You know, that's kind of, you know, what direction we want to go, and you had your hand up.
Well, I watch American Ninja Warrior,
Uh-huh.
and some of those obstacles I think would be perfect for a park for kids.
That's kind of like the exercise stations
Yeah.
that I've asked
Yeah.
for, the
I'm
fitness
telling you.
stations.
That would be awesome.
That would be awesome.
An adventure park.
Sorta, yeah, yeah.
Write that one down, for sure.
Besides boating and water sports, we have a very high recreation in motor sports. We have an excellent racetrack that's improved in the last couple of years with new owners. And it has an adjacent rustic campground. And
Yeah.
now developed also in Lackawanna.
What about, we saw that, so what about, like, has anybody ever held like mountain bike or BMX type events there, or,
They used
Maybe the
to,
next
just out
one.
around the corner, they used to have a BMX old races.
They're creating a mud bog.
But that family did away with, I don't know why, it was the Helmer family that.
okay. And then, what other thing we saw was, it looks like a go-kart track somewhere.
Yeah, that's been closed for years.
We like that property.
All right, cool.
See, me too. Me too.
Okay, anything else? If you were to buy new parkland,
Be a nice mini golf.
where would you put it?
Mini
To put your dog park, mini golf, weight, or workout stations, and
The go-kart place.
where do you think it would go? I mean, just dreaming here. Like, is there, because kind of the parks are a little more located around the lake area. Where do you think you would put one?
Is this something that, because we tried to get the golf cart or the go-kart place, but we were told we couldn't do that, the requisition or whatever, can that be done? Can
That was
the
through,
township purchase that? It was through
a land
requisition.
acquisition, and that has buildings on
It's
it.
improved.
Right. So is that something that can be looked into? Because he's willing to sell it, but,
Is he?
yeah, that would make a wonderful.
We could talk
mini
about
golf.
that. Yeah, we could call out a few key properties. Yeah, that might be good.
Yeah.
Do you know the boundaries for the school property? Because the land that they took from the park is now over here. So that provides an area that could be used for a dog park or.
Okay.
Parking, I'm just suggesting that if you know what the boundaries are for
Yep.
this area.
We do, but that, we'll look into that a little closer to the school boundary. And so when school was built, they took some of the park, is that what you were saying?
No, they moved the soil
The
from
soil.
soil renovation to raise
That
the
used to be a
level of the
steep
land.
line.
Oh,
So they leveled it out
really?
and moved it right over here.
Okay.
The duck from the park is in our park.
So we have all this,
Okay.
that's what she's saying.
Is there a canoe kayak rental place on the lake?
Private, we do have.
Private, okay, but I mean, you can do it, that's good.
A
You-
kayak, a handicap kayak launch would be nice down there.
Oh.
There you go. Yep, the township could help support that industry. Is anybody renting bikes in the area, or that's neat, if you guys have that natural stuff up here, you could have an industry of,
They rent go-kart, or not golf carts, they rent golf carts.
alright, okay.
But you know, biking around the lake when it's busy is pretty dangerous.
Is it?
I would love a bike trail someplace.
It's
In
hard
nature.
though. Like certain areas
Yeah.
of
Bike
the
trail.
roads is hard.
Okay.
They're narrow.
Yeah, okay.
What are the BMX, someone mentioned BMX trails, what are those now?
It was a private individual that did
That
that.
was a race, they had a regular race
Oh,
track out
okay.
there, the hills and stuff.
Okay.
Anybody else? My guess would be, lots of township people and people outside the township are coming into town to use your parks because probably not a lot of, I don't think Butternut has too many parks.
You got a ghost store.
That is, does anybody know the story? Does anybody remember that being open or?
Oh, yeah. Butternut Mall.
That is neat.
Butternut Mall.
But I'm guessing if those people wanna use a park, they're driving up here, right? Or
Or
Greenville.
Carson.
Okay, Carson, okay.
Carson's got a beautiful park.
They do have it there. Carson does have it. I go over there every day for lunch. It's a beautiful park. They have a splash pad. It's a beautiful park.
Do you guys have a splash pad or?
No, I
It's
don't.
700 acres.
That's
We need a
my
splash
top of my list.
Okay, that,
At the dog park.
we need a copy of your
Yeah.
list. Okay. Yeah, that's, as you're driving around town, as you're going on vacation up north, and you're noticing things, be thinking about 3 different levels. You know, low-level signage, fencing, that kind of stuff. And then more like buying apparatuses, like the stations or a play structure. And then how do we get that trail built to stand? But that's kind of what we will be looking at, yeah.
I was just thinking, this may not be an area to have food trucks.
Yeah. Well, we're gonna have to update your zoning ordinance probably, but yes.
We
don't
have
have any.
What?
No zoning.
Even better. One last thing to say. So the way that we typically do this is we have a steering committee that we report to. So we'll come up each month and report, and we'll ask information. A lot of times it's the planning commission. It can be the board. You guys could pull people from the community and create one. We'll leave that up to you guys how you want to do it, but you know, the more public that we can have involved, the better. But you don't necessarily want to have like a group of 20 people. That's too big. So, but we definitely have some interested people, and man, great suggestions, you guys. That's great. Come back next time. Anything else before we turn you guys back
Do
over?
you see that the DDA is connected with this, where they're hired you, correct? Downtown.
So the board hired them.
Well, the board hired them through their recommendation.
They paid half of it.
Okay, I would like to see someone from that group
There you go.
participate in it.
Yeah. I don't know, do you guys want to take a week and come up with a group or something and get us some contact information, or how do you want to do that?
The board usually appoints that, I believe.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little bit like if you had the park commission, we would just probably use that, or the planning commission or whatever, but, okay.
I better give us a couple of weeks.
Yeah, well,
You got it.
how many is it?
Yes.
We have a concern on the new beach and the way it's configured. My wife and I come by there in our boat. We noticed that people bring boats into the old side of the beach,
Okay.
right in amongst people swimming in that. It looks pretty unsafe.
Yeah.
So we were wondering, maybe we ought to take a look at how that's configured, if there's
Yes.
a better way to configure.
There isn't necessarily a taped off, buoyed off swimming area.
There's a buoyed off area in the new part,
Okay.
and they
It
didn't
was
buoy off the old part.
It was
Okay.
moved because of the new park development, and people haven't retrained their brains to move with it.
Right.
There you go. Signage. Yeah. Okay, that's the kind of stuff that we need to hear. Anybody be thinking that stuff, please. All right. Well, we don't have anything else to go over tonight, but these folks have our cards, or at least mine. So if you have ideas you want to get to them and have them get to us, please, by all means, do that, okay? Great conversation, everybody. Thank you.
Thanks for coming.
Thanks, Jeff.
Yes, that is my email, so at least it's there.
Okay. I thought that's what you said.
It's an education.
Oh, so it's over there. Oh.
Thank you.
See you next time.
Okay, let's down to a fire report. Mike's not here. He gave you anything?
You guys got it in your packet?
We had 3 CO2 investigations, 1 lane zone for AirMed, 1 PI accident, 2 PI accident, 1 laning zone for AirMed, 1 mutual aid to share, 1 power line down, 1 business meeting and 1 training. Okay, DPW. Anything you wanna make, Pat?
Yeah, I have a comment on that part. Is there any way we can, have our signs made bigger so people know how to read it, can read it better? Back to the part of dog feces being left in the park. Kids jumping off the docks. It's right there. There's a sign on this dock, there's a sign on this dock. Kids are jumping off, they're not picking up after their dogs, they're driving their golf carts on the park, in the beach, throwing our trash cans with trash in the lake.
It wasn't mad, it was terrible.
So, I don't know how much you guys are wanting to spend for maybe a 4x8 or a 10x10 sign, but people's gotta start reading the signs or make the signs bigger so they can actually read them.
Well, we can't make people read signs, but deterring goes hand in hand with enforcement of our ordinances, and we are gonna discuss that a little bit.
The other one that I wanted to mention is I have complaints of unleashed dogs on the beach
Yes,
area.
I've seen that, and, you know, I don't want them to get mad at me if I speak up and say something, because I spoke up and said something to a young kid when I was staking out the new grass seed. I didn't swear at him, no nothing. He gives me the bird and goes right back through it, you know. I mean, it's just common courtesy. You know, I'm just trying to save the township money because you paid to have that seeded.
Right.
The more traveling and trampling on it, you gotta pay again to have it seeded if the seed don't come up. That costs the township twice as much money. And granted, I know young kids, they don't care. They don't have to listen to nobody. But, you know.
Thanks, Pat. Duck Lake improvement, Shirley?
We had a Duck Lake Improvement Board meeting last night, and we had good participation from the folks around Duck Lake. It was
Speak up.
It was basically
music in her background.
I'm not gonna sing her music.
Oh, come on.
We had a good meeting last night, and we had a good crowd. It was basically an informational meeting. We had a lot of discussion about the weeds, which are quite aggressive.
You can ask them.
And, our efforts to deal with them and work with the Eagle, and hopefully they'll allow us to be more aggressive in treating the weeds. And that was the gist of that meeting. Anything you wanna add? No? Okay.
Thanks, you're good.
Next meeting's in October.
Over. Downtown Development Authority.
Okay, so my father is with my mother at her knee surgery, so I get to do the report. I'm also on the DDA as the treasurer, so these are the notes he gave me, so hopefully I'll do them justice. So music in the park is going great. We're getting large attendance out at No Park, and we've heard some of the feedback is actually they'd like to continue it out there. I don't know if that's everybody, but we've heard comments that it's better access with no hill, less wind, no sun behind the band. So we'll be willing, of course, to take feedback about doing it for next year, but.
Will it continue to be a no park, or will it actually move to, eventually move to the new park?
No, for this year, we're just gonna keep the whole season out there. But then we're gonna consider what we do for next year based on input and feedback, and part of it actually talked to this gentleman about some of the feedback for the DDA activities that we can also feed into the park and rec plan that'll help us plan for next year. Yep. Deb Woodard is finalizing the summer festival plans, that's July 20th, and we're looking for volunteers to be donkeys. We have one here, but we need more.
Anybody who wants to throw flaming tomatoes, right
In
here.
the dunk tank, anybody willing? Devin, I think you'd be a good one.
I think I called my bartender to do that.
Free drinks if they dunk you.
I actually think I got some of my staff that was volunteered for it.
All right,
Nice.
okay, awesome. All right. Love you guys down there. Summer raffle for the all-electric golf cart was underway. We're pulling in some money. The tickets are local businesses, as you probably all know. We've got about 800 tickets left, so, but looking for, to buy all 800 tickets.
When is drawing?
Drawing, Jeremy, is that at the end of August?
Yeah.
We'll have to post that and put that around.
Was it a 27th, 29th?
Something right here, it says, yeah.
Is it posted on the ticket?
It is.
Okay, sorry, it's on the ticket.
August 29th at 7 p.m.
And I think that's at the
It says-
last music in the park.
That's what it said, held in, it just says it's music in the park.
Right, I think that's what it said, so, the DDA submitted for a MISTA grant, which is, it was timing out at the end of July, no contributions required, so, we put in a grant to see if we could get 2 pavilions added to the new park. There's not a final decision on the size or where they'll be located, but we put our hat in the ring to get the funding. It's upwards of $75,000 for picnic tables and some added pavilions and things that go inside, like electricity and different sidewalks that go with the pavilion. So it's kind of the whole package. So we'll find out if that actually got approved in the middle of August, so we're hopeful. We've received and reviewed some facade grants. We have a facade grant program going out. We haven't sent out any of the notifications yet, but I just wanted to publicly announce that we've received some of the facade grant applications, and we've reviewed those. And last thing is, end of June ends our fiscal year, and so I'm prepared to submit all the documents you need, Patty, for the audit that's due in September. I can talk to you after the meeting about that. That's all I have.
Thank you.
I got a question. Mitch wanted me to ask. Do you have an idea of the main spots out at the park? So we have a rough idea how many more trash cans to stick out there?
You mean for the pavilion?
No, for anything, like I know you're gonna have the tug of war over by the
Oh, for
well.
the summer festival?
Yes.
You know what, I'm gonna have you talk to Deb Woodard. She has a plan about where things are gonna be located, and I think that's a really good idea.
Okay.
Of course, we're gonna do all the cleanup, we're not gonna leave it to you guys, but it'd be great to have, more trash cans out there for sure.
Thank you. Okay, now it's time for our Macomb County Police Report, Officer Coon.
Uneventful June. The holiday was extremely busy, but I think that'll be for next month, so. But June was relatively quiet, so no news.
We got any questions for the officer?
I do. A few weeks back, there was a young man driving around on a quad with no helmet, no registration, I mean, just tearing up straight toe in particular, going around the lake. Several people complained. What was the outcome on that?
If it's the gentleman that I'm thinking, he was stopped, warned, and so far, I have not had any other issues.
It's pretty radical.
The disposition was, the next time he is seen operating in the manner of that behavior, with no ORV sticker, with no helmet, that I would be the new owner of the quad. And he seemed pretty receptive to that.
Nice.
During the 4th of July weekend, I did see the, was it Eagle people? They stopped in a group of 4 children who were on a quad, and they talked to at the grocery store. So I don't know who that was, but it wasn't your group.
Doesn't sound like it.
No, it wasn't.
DNR.
DNR.
Okay, thank you. Down the trustee report.
Okay, in your packet/mailboxes, we have the supplemental materials for ordinances. And then also, example of municipal civil infractions, and this goes with our enforcement, because all these things that Patrick was just mentioning, folks are not gonna change their behavior until they get hit in the pocketbook. We know that the county is stretched thin, we know it takes, sometimes we have a deputy here, but sometimes they have to come from hell and gone to get here. And by that time, whoever is the offender of whatever ordinance is long gone. This is a way that, once it starts getting out that, oh crap, they're enforcing ordinances, and I got a $500 civil infraction ticket. And either pay it or go to court. That's gonna go around the grapevine just as much as nobody's gonna stop you if you take your golf cart up here, and that's on us to look at that. So I would like to have a healthy ordinance discussion. With you guys.
Right. I'm still reading that whole package.
What? Put together an ordinance for this. We put it together and then send it to the lawyer?
We can create our own ordinances. We have the authority to create ordinances. It makes sense for us to include our attorney on that discussion, and it makes sense to include the prosecutor. So if we escalate to that level, we know that we are working in cooperation with them, not we've taken this all the way up the steps and nothing happens, because that's gonna go nowhere.
I don't think this should be put off, but our current prosecuting attorney is retiring.
Yes, absolutely, but this is so many months of work for us to look at.
Okay, so start looking at it.
Yeah.
We were told what was a Friday, at our DDA meeting, that's why, just like Pat said, the kids jumping off the dock, yeah, we got a sign there, but we don't have an ordinance, so the lake patrol says they won't do nothing about it.
It's correct, they have to have documentation to put that onto,
I guess
so.
we need a list of where our issues are.
Well, and in the effort of that, going through our ordinances, to look specifically at ordinance 18, so we could see, okay, how many people are we putting on this recreation committee? It's 5 by appointment. They should have interest in the township. They do not have to live in the township. So, that was what I was originally looking at. And as I'm going through there, I took a peek at the sewer ordinance, and I was really surprised that I've been asking for more than a year what our authority structure is in this township and where the sewer falls with that. And I've gotten different answers repeatedly. Our sewer ordinance clearly states we are the authority over the sewer department and the Crystal Sewer Sanitary District by agreement. So question 1, is there an agreement? That is in document form. Question 2, why don't we know what our ordinance says to the point of having the attorney have to come here and go into a closed session with us to tell us what we already should have known?
Good statement, Sarah, good question. It is right there, and I had started looking through that, and I got to that one, and I said, it's right here in black and white. Crystal Township owns the sewer department.
So,
Simple.
yeah, the
They're
discussion
not a separate little territory.
of invoices, we do need to see them, because we are the fiduciary over those books as well. And that's, oh, and the one thing, or pass this out. If you guys have pens, write this down. This is a property fraud alert. It is a free service from our registrar of deeds. It is to protect you from people on the internet trying to convey your property. This is a free service. All you do is contact our registrar of deeds, give them your address, your name, and your phone number. And if anyone tries to use your name on anything property related in this county, you'll get a phone.
Text, call, or email.
It is 800-728-3858.
7283858.
And you just give them your name and address?
Yeah, and they'll ask you how you wanna be notified, by phone, email, or.
The last thing for me, everybody got their township focus?
Not right yet, sorry, Sarah.
Boosting board engagement. I would ask that we all read the same book that we have, and we bring this book with us next month, and we discuss this very informative article. And that's all for your trustee report.
Okay, moves down to correspond. Eagle, the 2 seawall permits in the regular DD public hearing. Unfinished business, cash handling.
I got that back to the lawyer.
I don't think you sent her back yet, have you?
I got nothing back, I haven't seen anything.
Okay, expenditure pod, now that's came back.
It has?
So the cash handling, we finalized that last time with the board?
No, there was a few things, and no, I've made a bunch of changes in there.
Yeah, that's what I mean, I don't know. I've got expenditure, I apologize, I got the expenditure one, but I'm not seeing the cash handling.
I'll look at my last month's board packet, Pat, and.
I'm sorry.
That's all right.
Talk about it next board meeting.
Well, maybe we can get it to the lawyer,
Yeah, if we have it.
rather than waiting another month.
Cash handling to attorneys.
But there were some changes. The only thing I'm gonna say this much. There was one thing in there, and I thought about it after our Montcalm Township Association dinner. Because we were taking out the fact, well, okay, first, no board member should have somebody hand them a check and then carry it around and then eventually drop it off here. And I just said, just don't have anybody take them. Don't take somebody else's checks. And I thought, you bring in your mother's checks. That should be permissible.
If you're a caregiver.
You're a caregiver, so a caregiver, whether or not they're a board member, should still be allowed to do that. I don't know if that needs spelled out or not. But, makes sense? Because it's specific about board members being handed checks rather than people dropping them in the drop box, mailing them, or coming into my office or Pat's office if it's a general, so. I word that a little differently for a caregiver. Well, the power of attorney is theirs. They're powered, they've got the paperwork, they're powered, but, so I understand what you're saying, Linda. Okay, I'm done.
Do we have an expenditure policy then, or we just, that comes with?
I think those are the same.
Same, yeah. Park project. Wednesday before the 4th, the engineer was up here. Spencer and,
Dave?
Griffin, for here, walked over the park. They're gonna send the light poles are still back ordered. They're saying they should be here the 18th. Their electrician, if they come in the 18th, he said he could be here the next day, putting them up. They're gonna bring a crew in behind the last stage where the hill is, when they see that there's a bunch of twigs, if you've been up there. They're gonna bring a crew in and try to clean that up a little better. Down at the south end, where it kinda goes down and it comes off that cement, they gotta put some kind of a ridge there, cause it's wanting to wash. They're gonna bring a load of black dirt up and dump it for Pat and Mitch behind the bleachers, a couple places they didn't level it off very good, so.
Behind the what?
Where the benches are.
Oh, the benches,
Yeah, I said
sorry.
benches, sorry.
That's all right.
Benches, they need a little black dirt, and Pat and Mitch are gonna do that.
Okay.
Mitch is trying to get an estimate on fence to close in, to extend the siren a little bit, so it's around the
Control boxes.
control boxes, and then also build something to put over the well.
How about the fact that I've seen kids running up and down, where our benches are, and then that slope. I see kids running up and down that. Are we putting a fence up there and all?
Yeah, they
You're
got.
not gonna get them to stop.
They gotta put handrails up someplace here too, they were going to be.
You're talking about the erosion spot then, right? Like the kids are running down the eroded spot?
It's more in that corner.
Yeah.
Yeah, more in that corner, yeah. Question.
Should we extend the fence that's there this
Cut it
way
off,
maybe or something?
possibly.
So have they been approached about that $3,000
Yeah.
discrepancy, I hope?
But supposedly Dave has to go back and look. The guys that are doing the work said they haven't really even seen a true contract, I guess, so they don't.
There was one for you to sign.
Well, we've seen it, but I guess they haven't seen it, I don't know if Wolverine did.
Wait a minute, that should be, it's not the guys doing the work, it's the guys doing the billing.
Yeah,
Right.
and in that contract, wasn't there a late penalty, like do or die done was 4th of July?
Yeah, what day?
It was sometime the end of June, I
I
believe.
think they said because of everything being back ordered.
A date's a date.
Right.
A contract's a contract.
Well, we gotta be done by,
You have to do an extension. Or-
we gotta do an extension because, our grant,
Our plaque, we haven't got our plaque,
our plaque,
that's in the bills to order
See
the
that,
plaque.
yeah.
And so we need that
so we
plaque.
gotta have that
We gotta
mounted
have
out
that
there
before
too,
we
and
finalize everything.
That makes sense.
Right, and that's on our end, but on the construction end, through Wolverine and through Dan's Excavating, there was a late penalty for running over the timeline. I am positive.
oh, there was, yeah.
Yeah, things started to go crazy from the beginning with the frost.
Yeah.
So I have a hard time figuring out any issues. I would like to see that $3,000 discrepancy taken care of.
Yeah, they're supposed to be doing that,
Okay.
we'll keep an eye on that.
So the final bill was
That's it for the park. Single hauler garbage. Like we've heard back from anybody else who used there.
Well, I'm not sure really how far to go, because why am I gonna go do a whole bunch of work if we're not even having a discussion, nor have we figured out a way to reach our community about that? So I'm not just gonna sit and spin a wheel for no reason.
the last meeting you said something about establishing, or researching establishing, I'm gonna call it a special assessment district for the garbage hauling and for the leaf pickup.
That is one possibility. Another possibility is to get with our local areas, other than the concentrated area around Crystal, and see about doing some contract with CLA, with Crystal Heights, with Duck Lake Association, because those are the areas. But that is a work session, all hands on deck, all mouths engaged, all brains working kind of activity.
So should we move forward? Because obviously we need to decide what we're gonna do with leaves.
Yep, we need to figure it out.
In the next, I would say, at the latest, next meeting, so that's August.
So I would say we schedule a work session, a public work session that anybody can show up to. and let's hammer through it.
When do you wanna do that?
Not on, well, let's see, I'm only not on Saturdays right now, so I'm easy and breezy.
Well, what are we gonna do about putting people on they need somebody, should we wait 2 weeks and then maybe we can
Separate thing.
But he's wondering what we should do.
add, we could put those people on that time?
Yes, and we can decide the
Right.
the parameters of how to do that, yes,
Yeah.
we can do that totally at a work session.
The 24th, Wednesday the 24th at 7? How's that sound?
That works for me.
Okay. New business. We already took care of the parks. Salary, like we said, MTA said we can't take Nancy's money back.
What's the Juneteenth? I mean, we've already discussed it, you guys said.
Holiday, we got a worker,
Questioning federal holidays.
question federal holidays, and he thought that should be added, but in our handbook, we don't have a lot of them, just the main ones.
So we don't have Martin Luther King, President's Day, Columbus Day, or Veterans Day. Is that
Well,
the day we
okay.
want to?
And it's
What-
a fairly new holiday.
What have we done in the past, and do we follow everybody else's holidays, say the counties?
The one, no, we, just by what we got in our handbook,
I'm not
employer
sure.
handbook, like Christmas, Easter, New Year,
You don't get, nobody, Easter's not a holiday.
and Easter.
It was Labor Day, Memorial Day, 4th of July, Thanksgiving, and
Those are the days they've gotta end up working anyway, or the next day.
I'm just saying, those are those
And that's only for, and then that's only the full time that gets holiday pay.
Right.
You gotta have, what is it, almost 50 weeks in before you get.
1,664 hours to be eligible for full-time.
Well, perhaps, we need to update the employee handbook. I mean, it's, how out of date is it? How out of sync is it?
Well, like I said, so when there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 federal holidays, and we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So, do we wanna add the other 5? Martin Luther King, Washington,
And paid day off.
Juneteenth, Columbus Day, Veterans Day is a paid day off.
I think that should be a little bit of thought about. Let's not jump into this.
Right.
Not that I'm totally against it. Let's think about it.
Okay.
We've already set a budget.
Right.
Not that it still couldn't be changed.
Think about it, we'll bring it up next one.
Yeah, let's,
Do we all have a copy of the personnel manual? I know I do.
I do.
no, I don't think so.
I think we got next one in the office, I think.
Also, have all the employees gotten a copy of the ethics policy and signed it? Because that is also part of that. It applies to them and us.
Okay. That moves us down to D. The guy that owns the house, the blue house right out here, calling, he wants to sell it to us. Says he'll give us first chance, he'll help tear it down.
How much money and what are we gonna do with it?
Let it become more of a parking lot, I guess.
Well, then that costs paving.
Or you could have a
Et cetera,
gravel
et
parking
cetera.
lot.
And that is older than 1970, so the possibility of lead paint and asbestos exists.
Yeah.
But they're gonna tear it down.
Right.
Oh, yeah, if it's friable,
If it's
you're in trouble.
That's what I'm worried about.
That's called testing. I think we better walk away.
Control burn.
Right there.
Control burn.
I'm just concerned because that's centrally located, and if he does what he's mentioned doing, taking it down, putting a trailer in there, renting it out again, I just think it'd be a good investment for the community.
Here's an out of the box. Developers Day is looking for properties that are within the DDA district. Let's throw that on Developer Day.
Is that in the DDA district?
Yeah.
It should be in the DDA
The town,
district.
the school's not, the town, this building is not, so is that?
Correct.
It carves around that, Patty, but
Okay,
I'll confirm on the map, but
I've got a map
I
in my
do-
office,
I
too.
do think that we've
I
thought
think
about,
that one is in the DDA, but I could be wrong.
I can have a look, but we talked about actually the property behind the post office belongs to Mr. Wright. And I just spoke to his, about them, what they wanna do with that. So there's been some interest in that area, and especially that gentleman's home right next to your parking lot. So if it doesn't go to the township as parking, which does make a lot of sense to me personally, but the DDA would be interested in talking to you about other options for that space. Whether it's a developer from the outside or somebody in the community that's interested in potentially doing something in that space that would pay for the tear down.
But
That's a
please,
complicated
let's not remember the age of that place, and he needs to get the right testing done before he just tears that down and the right permits for it.
And I'm not against the idea of making a nice parking lot, because everybody's screaming for parking, but how many spaces is that really gonna be?
Well, snowball ramp take to the post office pretty close, don't it?
Okay, but it's not that giant of a property. Look at it when we go out. Y'all have a
But the thing is,
guesstimate too.
since we've taken up quite a bit of
Just
space
leave
in
the
that
junk
complex, if we took that down and made it, even if we just made it grassy area for right now, because the entire parking lot needs to be done.
Oh, yes.
So, if, potentially, just get the house down and get get it cleaned up, so it's open area, and then when we do the whole parking lot, we can
So you're all about,
After testing, I would be on board with that, but it needs to be tested, because that's expensive.
yeah. That needs to be checked out.
Well, that would be his responsibility if he's tearing it down.
Oh, well, I guess if we bought it first, it'd say.
No, but I
Sorry.
know that'd be part of the deal. He said we'd have to put it in the deal, he brings his hydro hole and we might have to get the dumpsters for him, but that's maybe he'd even haul it out. What do you want, he said, the realtor told him
What's his price tag?
60,000.
The
SEB is
74, isn't it?
74.
Be
So that's
double
double
that.
that. I think you take 50-55 with help cleaning it up.
That's now, assessed at 40, taxable value of 22.
No,
It's assessed,
it's assessed more than that.
Okay.
It's assessed at like 75 or 74.
I looked at the equalization map and gave her that information.
What's that?
I looked at the equalization map from Montcalm County, and that's the value that they have for it.
For the house?
Yes.
And if it's a tear down?
Yeah, and the numbers you guys were throwing out, I'm like, there's no way that house is.
Yeah. Tear down.
There's no way.
That's what our assessors got on the computer, so.
Not from the assessors department.
Huh?
See, where's houses
That's
in that?
from Montcalm County Equalization Department.
Anyway, I don't wanna jump
See
into
that
that.
one in Butternut?
I just don't, I got a lot of concerns with it, yeah, it'd be nice to have that property, but not with as old as that house is, and how can we make sure he's gonna do the right thing?
Well, and our budget is kind of set.
Right, we've got things we still need to spend on that park. We still need parking for other places when we already have property right over there. That's just my concern. This is a discussion.
I'm just concerned of what's gonna go in there and what we're gonna be looking at on Main Street.
Well, you know what?
That's zoning.
A trailer might look better than that old building.
Thoughtful zoning protects your community.
Exactly. Bing, 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 bing. We've got Blake down next to them, at least we know.
Nope.
I don't think anything can get worse than that.
Okay.
Cool.
Another thing, since we're on property, got a call Monday from the lady that owns the old Township Hall. She didn't realize she didn't own that little 4-foot stretch or whatever is on the south side of the building.
I did.
Right, we knew you said something.
Uh-huh.
And, she'd either like to buy it or,
I'm laughing because we still don't have that resolution that allows us to do that.
You're correct.
Sell it today, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You don't have the resolution yet.
We need a generic resolution that allows
Township
us
is able
to.
to.
well, how then did the old board, sell that across the road?
I would say that probably nothing was really done kosher. I could say kosher,
Okay.
without getting in trouble.
When you know better, you do better. Now we know better and we need to do better.
Yeah,
So we get that resolution.
yeah, move
What
forward.
are you gonna want for it?
60 grand.
What's
What's
the value on that? What's the-
I know, we called the deeds office to try to get a prescription, she's still looking for it.
So I think we need that before we can, you know,
Yeah,
we
you
need to know
value.
what that little piece of property is
Yeah.
worth. And I know it's a little piece of property, but I think if we're, we need to wait and see what that is.
Okay.
How do we determine that?
Well, doesn't it have its own deed? I mean, if it's our
Right.
property, how do we know it's our property? Because we have a deed for it, right?
No, I found it on the website. On the property viewer and looked up Crystal Township and a slew of addresses came up and I matched up and had John help me and away we went through the little spreadsheet and it was like, what is this piece?
Her deed probably should show her correct dimensions.
Right. So
Um,
survey.
Or whatever.
But because it is township property, it doesn't have an SEP or
Right.
whatever, so
Right.
I'm saying, how do we determine the value? I'm back to the question.
I would say go to the original sale of the town hall and look at the size of the actual property outline and do a fraction, just like you would prorate taxes, fractionalize it out. And that to me would be the fairest.
And Kurt, did he give you a timeline on the house that he wants an answer by this date, or he's going to move forward with?
I told him we had a board meeting, I'd bring it up to the board. And
That would be a nice piece of property to have though, in my opinion.
I do not think it's worth 60,000 taxpayer
I
dollars.
think, well, I think we, need to find out what it is worth. And then-
I'd like to see us pursue finding a value of it.
Oh, I agree. Let's find a value on it and then we can make a decision.
Need a motion on that, then?
I'll make a motion that we find the value of the parcel at 210 South Main.
How you gonna do that?
Should be-
How did you do it on North Shore? How did they
Because we had
find out the
appraisal.
value when you guys bought the North
We
Shore
had that
property? The
Yeah, we had an appraisal.
All right,
There
so
you
we're
go.
already spending money, and maybe we'll just go, no, we don't want it because of this. So I don't know.
I'm gonna second your motion.
So I'll make a motion that we, start over again and say that we get an appraisal of the property at 210 South Main Street.
And I'll get with him, see if he can take care of all of the
Testing.
testing.
And I will second that motion.
Motion by Patty, second by Lisa, to investigate the property in 210 South Main. Any more discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed?
Aye.
3-2, motion carried. That puts us down, our annual sewer increase.
Well, and I'm gonna take this moment to apologize for not taking a pause and being stronger with suggesting a pause so people could have one cycle to get used to it. For myself personally, I was freaked out by that $6.1 million or this, knowing that it needs to be fixed, but I apologize for not having a let everybody know time.
I'm gonna say the same thing too. We should not have jumped that fast on that increase. We should have waited at least one more quarter until the first of the year. And again, it would have been nice to know how much money they had in the savings account. We could have hesitated. I want to start seeing some bank accounts.
Okay, we got a resolution we need to sign for.
Funny, we're past the effective date, and we're still gonna do that. This was effective July 1st, and this is the 10th.
This is for the
3%.
3%, that 30-day.
Commencing July 1st,
No, it actually
2025.
says right here, effective date July 1st, 2024. The rates for the Crystal Township sanitary sewer, blah, 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 monthly usage charge 30 per user. Yes, I realize the rest of it is within there too, but right there.
Yeah,
But is that incorrect, that statement? $30 per user effective July 1st, 2024?
I'm saying that the date now today is July 10th.
I realize that.
We're kind of behind the game already. This should have been done before we did this, before we did that rate. Just saying, we're not following a cohesive manner.
I make a motion, we approve the resolution to do a 3% per calendar year increase of the sewer rates effective July 1st of each year, so we don't have to end up having large lump sum that we just had to incur.
Second that motion, because it says commencing July 1st, 2025.
Yeah.
Right above there, it says effective July 1st, 2024.
Right.
Any discussion?
I'll do roll call. Sarah?
Yay.
Nancy?
Yes, but let's do it the correct way next time.
Kurt?
Yeah.
Pat, yes. Alicia?
Yes.
That puts us down to F, Nancy?
Yeah, okay, couple of concerns. I've had calls over the phone about, from realtors, from people.
I can't hear you, what did you say?
Calls up over the phone from either realtors or people actually interested in purchasing places. And everybody wants to turn them into short-term rentals. Also, I've had, conversations with people that now have short-term rental owners, and they're kicking them off their deeded accesses. Now, I went to a short-term rental class when I was at MTA, so I'll start getting all the paperwork around. This takes months to put together something for this, but I think we better start now, as soon as we can. We're gonna have wars, and on top of that, Traverse City had a big issue up there. It took them a long time to put everything together, get it all worked out. You had to have a lot of input, a lot of different areas. But we can't just let this go. And it will get out of control. So that's my one main concern. I'll bring more information to the next meeting. The other thing, the washout over here, the driveway.
To the garden.
Yeah, what are we gonna do about that?
I think they're supposed to be bringing gravel, that was one thing they said too, didn't they bring a load of gravel in?
You know, I kind of think that's part of, from our construction, obviously.
Right,
There's
that's,
so much
those
heavy
are the ones
traffic.
that's supposed to be bringing it in, when they bring the black dirt.
Is that gonna be part of it?
Yeah.
Okay, that's all I got.
Well, on the concerns, I do have a dovetail, and I second what Nancy's saying about short-term rentals, because where I am from is in a wholly chaotic mess with them right now. It erodes your neighborhoods, you don't have people there, there are a lot of ripple effects from short-term rentals, so please do some Googling and read about them. They are an issue that are affecting our constituents, and we need to get our heads around what taking care of the community looks like in regards to short-term rentals. Number two, what is the plan, when the lease with Garrett got renewed and we now have a beach, and Devin is so gracious to rent his beach for $1. And, so that access is there, everybody's used to being over there, and like Linda said, nobody's moving over. Well, some folks aren't going to move over. I've spoken with a number of them who say the sand on the old beach is better. I'm always going there. So, that brings up, we have people and children and pontoon boats. So, is that meant to be a swimming area? Is that meant to be a pontoon beach area?
Years ago, Sarah, it was both.
It's a free-for-all.
It was both.
Right, and
Which is what people are going back to. So I want the kids to be safe, I want
Yeah.
everybody to be safe. You've got a lot of boaters that we took their spot away. Now, there's other people, of course, that go over to, between the Little Island and the Point. Until you do something about it,
well,
those
we
boaters
didn't,
are gonna go back in there.
we didn't vote to do that, so did the three of you guys have an idea of what you envisioned on making that continue to be? Like, are there gonna be signs that say absolutely no swimming here, go the heck down there where the buoys are? Or are we gonna buoy off part of it, or are we just gonna hope no one gets hurt?
I guess you're tying the beach lease to the pontoons being there, and I don't see
There's no
the
buoys
core,
anymore.
but I don't see the
Or when they
correlation.
go there, because the buoys are gone.
The
So the
people
pontoons
are
are
still
going to
swimming
come
there.
I
back.
get that, but the swimming buoys are at the new beach area.
Right, so are we
But
gonna have
So you
signage?
didn't rent
I
the
think
beach
there
for
should be
people to swim?
signage.
In my opinion, we signed that lease for parking.
That's what my understanding
That's
was.
in,
Then then you guess you could just take down the public beach sign. Yeah.
well, we can take down the public beach side, but what I'm saying is, you're blaming the lease and getting that property from Garrett on this problem, and that has nothing to do with it.
No, I'm really not.
Even if we didn't sign that lease with Garrett and do the parking, this same situation is gonna happen.
Right.
Because it's a public
So-
area.
But it wouldn't be on the township board's responsibility and accountability. The way it is now, we lease that. So if you lease something that's dangerous, you need to make it
But
not
we don't
dangerous.
lease the water.
Right.
We don't lease the land.
Right,
under
but
it.
for
So-
public safety reasons, like that is
But
one of
listen,
our
there's
large
some
Why don't we
charges.
invest in some buoys?
We have a
and put
beach,
just
we
buoys?
have to have.
Some of it. Let's just get some more buoys
But like
and.
Nancy said, why are we going to kick out the pontoons?
No,
I
I'm just
didn't
throwing it,
say-
there's both people.
I'm right, that's
Both,
what I'm
both
saying.
areas going there.
There's gotta be a way we can make it work for
There's
both.
200 feet of sandy beach area. And you can tell me all day that it's not any good. I take my grandchildren down there and swim it. There's
And
nothing
other
wrong
people
with it.
say it is. I am just letting you know what I saw going down there
But that's
and
their
knowing that
choice.
constituents have come and said, this is an accident waiting to
That's
happen.
their choice to swim in that area instead of.
If they entered that water from property that we have leased, that then becomes our liability.
Yes, it does.
So, my suggestion is we get more buoys, or extend the buoys somehow, some way.
Or signs to push people down. Like, I'm amenable to many solutions, but we need to do something.
Is the water shallow enough that you can put buoys there and still have room for the pontoons to
You could
be
do
on
that.
that?
Yes,
You could
yes.
do that.
That's a good.
Don't go so far out. That's what I'm saying.
I think the
I
cheapest,
think
we
that-
know what buoys cost.
I'll just say one historical thing that I understand, the boat docks and the intent of that area was for boat access for the businesses, right? Because I think the Crystal Lake Association and other businesses invested in, helped to pay for the docks
So
in
did
that
the
area. Before my time.
It was.
And so I think the intent of the usage of the old area, as much as that's my childhood too, that's where I swam forever, is that that's not a swimming area any longer. And so if that's the commitment and the decision from the township, maybe in the future in our park and rec plan, that we put a seawall up, we put signage up, no swimming, and that kind of thing, and really develop that. I'm just throwing things out here that in the future, because you do have Devon's property and you have Garrett's property that we can't control, we don't own that, but would have to be an agreement that that's for boats only.
So where the boats used to be, people still swam in that area. The thing is now is it's more visible, so when you drive down the street, you can see more people out there. It really hasn't changed, it just changed locations. If you go out to the sandbar, there's people swimming when the boats are coming up. If you used to be where the boats used to be, it looks exactly like it looks now.
But they're not entering from somewhere that says public beach.
And then someone actually took the buoys this last week and moved them down past the docks, then no one used the docks. So you couldn't even get to the docks, so the township had the buoys moved back. So I mean, it'd be, I don't know how, they're gonna go somewhere that way. I don't know where you could put them, it's not there.
Since this seems to be public comment, I think you folks might wanna look up MCL section 324.80198B. And that's pertaining to publicly posted swim areas. It's a civil infraction not to have buoys out where it's designated as a public swimming area.
Public beach.
Public beach, whatever, okay. Did you read this quote already?
Sherry, can you give me that number after 324?
80198B.
Thank you.
Move the sign down.
And we have buoys on
Relocate.
order, they just haven't arrived yet. We have more buoys on order.
I'm gonna tell you, when I went down there on the fourth, you've got little kids going under the water, coming up right at the back end, and they weren't just pontoon boats, they were actually speedboats there too. You've got people standing out there all day in the hot sun, drinking booze. And when they get drunk and they start up their engines and there's a kid under there, and you've got a kid maimed or killed, the township is liable because you're renting a beach lease from Garrett Bacher in that section with no swim buoys. And it's on the taxpayers' backs. It's our money, because you now renewed a beach lease for that whole section.
The bottomlands, the riparian belongs to the beach, so then the bottomlands, that is riparian to that area of the beach, so your responsibility goes out into the water, it does.
I'll take care of the problem. I'll call Mark Christensen tomorrow, and I'll have him make 2 signs.
There you go.
No boats beyond this point, and we'll go out there so far, and we'll drive in the ground.
Exactly, the sign's not gonna stop it.
What?
DEQ's gonna come all over you. Eagle, don't pound
I would say we
something.
want to relocate the public beach sign.
This is a DNR owned lake.
Yeah, but just relocating that, no public beach sign ain't gonna stop the people from swimming there.
But it will reduce
No,
your
but it will
liability.
alleviate
Could we
some of the
move it
responsibility.
Why, you just told us if we lease it, we're liable.
Why not?
Put your swim buoys out.
We ain't got any more, we've got them on order, they're back ordered for 2 months.
One? Just one?
No.
Risk.
2
You're
because
gonna
we-
need more than 2.
Where everybody else goes.
Already got one risk.
Okay, let's go into public comment now. Anybody got any public comment?
I don't know where the boats would go if they're not somewhere out there. And then if you put buoys all the way across, how are they gonna access the docks? So I mean, can we put, like you said, so we want risk, if you put a beach sign, move it over. And the reason that people like that beach more is I don't think, I don't, not just me, the old ones, I bring sand in 10 yards every year, dump it on the beach when kids be playing big tile, that spreads it out. Then also kids pick up the rocks when they're out there, and they throw the rocks up to that little corner. So they're gonna do that at the other beach, already caught them up, you can see them out there whipping the rocks out of there. That's gonna turn the same thing. Between the 2 islands, when they have that sandbar out there, they have the exact same things going on, everything, it just moves around a little bit. I don't really think it's changed. What do you guys decide?
My neighbor owns the point that goes out towards the islands. And he has signs up saying, do not enter private property. And we can watch people go off and onto his property to pee and
And
Arrested.
pets.
Oh,
And-
grown out
and
there,
the
that
dogs.
sounds horrible.
And it's like,
They did it on the island too.
yeah.
Trespassing once.
Anybody else? Okay.
Yeah, I've got a couple things, nothing this serious, but, the pickleball courts. I
play a lot of pickleball, so it's a little selfish of me to stand up here and ask about it, but they do need some maintenance done. And I think if you get on it right away, it won't cost anywhere near as much. They've got some cracks in them right now that need to be repaired, and I'm wondering if somebody can take a look at those. The other thing is on reports. Is there any way we could make the police report the first thing? I see this guy standing here for about an hour and a half, just waiting for us, and we go through all these other reports, and he's waiting another half hour. And I know it's trivial, but there's things he could be doing on the street. Also, when it comes to the signage, I think the best idea is take your public beach signs, move them back down to the new beach, and don't have signage there. And that would be like any other place that you would enter the water where there's boats. It's on you. You've established a public swimming area already. Swim at your own risk anywhere else as far as being involved with a boat problem. Thank you. Thank you.
I have one thing for public comment. Our township dinner last month, remember I said I was dumping the flower water out in the flower bed out here, and I was like, what's that cardboard? It wasn't cardboard, it was leaves that were compacted, flat, and at least an inch thick. So that right there is not what our roof manual says. And that's why it was necessary to have the logbook. When there's debris out there, number 3 on page 2, that the drain areas must all remain clean. All debris needs to be removed from the roof to prevent ponding. Debris on the roof surface will be swept into the drains. So that needs to go on the DPW schedule because that needs to get done. We do not need to void that.
It goes into the drains?
This is good.
No, it will go in the drains.
If we
It's
don't
not
remove
in-
it, thank you,
Yes.
that sounds much better.
It ends up clogging the drains, building up ice on the roof, which is more weight than the tornado damage.
Right.
Any more public comment?
How many porta potties are permanent through the summer at the park?
2.
Because we've had a lot of complaints on our website and stuff that, it's just not enough when we have these 80, 90-degree weekend weathers. Is there any way to increase the number of porta potties available out there? Because there's no place to go to the bathroom.
What he said.
So people were saying that they were doing their bathroom duties in the lake this last weekend. And I would suggest for the next 4th of July, if it falls on the Friday or the weekend, you get like about 25 porta potties out there for like 3 days. Because they were filled, it was a mess, it was just a terrible mess.
Department does do testing on that lake.
E. coli, you
They
won't be
do.
in that lake if that happens.
Yeah, but
Big
still,
Crystal Lake.
I'm just saying, you know, if we're gonna have a beautiful park, let's give people a place to go potty.
I'd rather see us put money into bathrooms. than-
I do too, but until we get
Empty
permanent bathrooms,
house.
Right, could we
but yeah.
increase the porta potties over the summertime?
Yes.
There's a website that you can go to about porta potties, and they were saying, depending on how many people you have, and for up to a 10-hour period. Well, if you have 1,500 people in a 10-hour period, you need 10-hour period, you need 21 porta potties. And we're going a whole weekend. And
It was terrible.
We gotta get people to come in here and empty them out, bring them back. Yeah, well, yeah, that's true.
So do we need to make a motion?
Adjourn. Anybody else?
Well, wait, do we need a motion to call and get more porta potties brought into the park to see if they do?
I moved that we get 2 more porta potties for the park for a regular time.
I will
For the
second
rest
that.
of the year?
Yes.
Yes, rest of the year.
Where do you want to put them? Down on the palladium or?
Or back where?
Back in the parking lot where the 2 that got removed from.
Yeah, in that area.
And someone to fill them with toilet paper. I bet you I took 20-year-old, 20-year-old on that will be. people kept coming complaining, when I say, why am I, I don't mind abusing this, why you guys done it? No toilet down, so I had to go down there and put a new one in. But 2 hours later, they're down there saying the same thing.
Yeah, but then you're supplying
I-
a lot of content for
I'm just trying to.
township, bro.
Okay, somebody second that?
I second that.
Motion by Patty, second by Lisa to give Sarah, to get 2 more porta potties. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you, and just to let you know that the CLA has rented a porta potty, and it's over at Stones Marine, sponsored by them as well as the CLA, for the people that walk around the lake, so that they have an intermediate area, to go bath.
You know what, my granddaughter had to use that as an emergency, and she felt terrible because she thought it was somebody's private one, she said, I had to go.
Roger.
It's already up.
It's already up.
It was up on the top, you gotta keep it on.
Okay, this ain't really this township countywide. We gotta do something with the Amish people driving their buggies. They need some way to signal us when they're turning, when they're stopping. Cause I had one whip out in front of me the other day, I was just about ready to pass her and she turned right in front of me.
You gotta go to the sheriff's office for that one.
Yeah.
Well, I've already talked to the sheriff, or the county cop.
But we don't control our roads.
We just had that one man get run over the other day.
Motion adjourned.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion by Nancy, second by Lisa.
Yeah.
Adjourned at 5:09. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried.
Oh, look, now it stays down by itself.
No.
Turn this off.
No.
It's just getting to be trained or.